Welcome to another YC Wisdom podcast. We have Peter Moot with us today. Peter is a co-founder at Promi. He's helping merchants personalize their discounts with AI, part of YC Summer 2024 batch, Harvard educated in San Francisco. And Peter was on one of my clients' podcast, Tyler's pods, which is called Built to Ship. Shout out to Tyler and Volker, another YC alumni. And I thought, Peter would be a good fit for my podcast as well. He's next Uber as well, ex-Jet, ex-KPMG. So Peter, welcome to the pod. Tell me a bit more about yourself and what you're up to nowadays.
Yeah, happy to be here. So you kind of did a good summary. Working on Promi now, which is using AI to personalize discounts and kind of a part of the big wave of AI startups kind of coming through the Bay Area and really the rest of the world. But yeah, I've been in pricing for the better part of my career, and so have really, with Promi, tried to take a lot of the pricing knowledge that I've developed at Uber and Jet.com before that, and just make it available to other merchants. So, yeah.
That's great. I love what I'm seeing here. So personalize your discounts. Tell me about the philosophy behind that, because I believe in an ideal world, maybe I should pay more if I'm richer than if I am someone that doesn't have much money, right? So what's the philosophy behind that? And also it's better for the merchant, right? They get better conversion rate. Tell me a bit more about the idea and the philosophy here.
Yeah. So, well, we're not really coming at it from a lens of rich people pay more than poor people, definitely. But we do think that there's a way to kind of optimize your pricing and really your promotions if you're a merchant. No surprise, a lot of the big companies already do this and they do it really well. So Uber is a great example of dynamic personalized pricing for a lot of their products out there. But a lot of people don't realize that it's also companies like DoorDash, Instacart, Lyft does this too. Google does this in some of their products. And really what they're doing here is just trying to get a little bit more kind of revenue with the discount that you're offering. In my opinion, kind of the big name of the game is if you're an e-commerce retailer and you're sending out a discount, a lot of that discount is going to be burnt on basically people who would have placed the order anyway, who are happy with the higher price, who don't really need that extra incentive. And so a lot of what kind of personalization does and AI does is figuring out who actually needs that extra nudge. And so you can save the margin by not offering the discount on those people who are going to convert and instead offer higher discounts to win additional orders. And so that's
cool.
The theory behind the AI.
And where does AI kick into this? What data do you feed the AI, and what's the prompt so that can return the right discount at the right time?
Yeah, so when merchants install our app, we put a little code snippet on their website. And so we're looking at basically all of the traffic that's coming in, and we're recording things like, where's that traffic coming from? So referral URLs, is it from a Instagram ad, a Facebook ad, a Google ad? What device are they using? What time of day are they? Is it what day of week? What their view history for different products, what their transaction history is with this shop as well. And we're able to actually use all of that types of data to just basically come up with a price sensitivity prediction for them. There are some really easy, intuitive kind of trends that we're able to capitalize on. And then obviously a lot more that a little bit less intuitive that people wouldn't have picked up before. Intuitive ones, obviously, if someone is typing in the URL of a website directly to go there, they have a high intent to purchase. They're likely to convert because they're kind of on a mission. They went there directly. Versus if someone's coming from kind of a Facebook, Instagram ad, they're a lot less likely to convert because maybe they were just browsing and they happened to see this pop up and it caught a little bit of their interest. Our AI model is able to kind of recognize those types of things and say, hey, these people who are very likely to convert probably don't need that extra nudge. But the people who maybe, if I'm an e-com retailer, am spending money to kind of pull in kind of the less high intent traffic to my site, those are the types of people that I need to incentivize more in order to get more revenue and more orders. So that's kind of an example, an intuitive one. And then there are a lot of really interesting trends too on the other features that we look at.
Right. And you said you had a lot of competition, right? What are you doing better than them? Because yeah, I haven't studied that part of the market. Not sure if there's that much competition or folks that are doing it the way that you do. So tell me a bit more about your USP here and what you're offering that's unique.
Yeah, so the Shopify and kind of e-com ecosystem in general is very crowded with different service providers and such. I actually don't think there are that many that are actually personalizing kind of prices and discounts the way that we are. But there is a huge wave of merchants looking for new AI tools, how they can kind of incorporate them into their shop. What you'll see mostly is like a lot of those are kind of marketing platform automations. So figuring out the right time to send an email or push notification, or things like kind of personalize components on the website for them too. So if we know someone's coming from, I don't know, San Francisco, they say, oh, average temperature in San Francisco is this. So like this is going to be a good product for the weather in San Francisco for you, or something along those lines. Personally, my opinion is getting pricing right is a pretty difficult problem to do well. And you actually need like a ton of data if you're going to perfectly optimize who gets what discount, versus a lot of these other kind of things of like touch points and things like that. You can kind of just get by with, for instance, on average, more touch points are going to be probably better and drive more revenue. And then you just need to be sensitive of kind of unsubscribe rates and things like that. And but things like pricing adjustments, not only are you kind of trying to predict who, like the probability of someone placing their order anyway, but you're also trying to predict how much more likely they are to place an order when you give them a discount. And then the variability of how much more likely they are with the different types of discounts that you're able to give. And so I actually think it's like a very difficult problem with a lot of data that, especially for kind of the SMB market that we're targeting right now, is not super straightforward. And it's kind of a big reason that not more competitors have kind of jumped in and tried to make this work.
Yeah. And why doesn't Amazon do that, for example?
For the people selling on Amazon?
Yeah, like why don't they offer discounts or Mercado Libre? I understand that the loyalty is pretty high, right? And people may order, but there's other kinds of buyers, like you said, that needs to be nudged, needs to be convinced. So why aren't they deploying that?
Yeah, so I think Amazon will allow a lot of the merchants on their platform to run their own discounts, but they're not going to be personalized, optimized discounts for those merchants. And that's what you see kind of like a lot of the coupons on Amazon's, where you can say like, oh, the merchant's offering $5 off this or something along those lines. I think there's a little bit of less of like an incentive for Amazon to develop, for instance, an ML model, basically to optimize which merchants and which items kind of get discounts, because it's the merchants funding those discounts and like they're kind of like the big benefits of it. So on the flip side, Amazon may kind of come up with its own ML model for deciding if it's funding discounts, who should get those. But that's not optimized for the merchants. And the big difference for us is like we're kind of on the team of the merchants here. We're trying to make those merchants more money versus Amazon potentially just making itself more money.
Yep, I do think Amazon would make more money if they would customize prices and offer discounts, depending to whom and their intention. I think they're just not doing it because they're a big, slow company that hasn't innovated in a while since the one-click checkout that Bezos implemented. Yeah, tell me about your model itself. It seems you're taking 1% after 10K on your first plan, and then I do believe it's still like a percentage, but after 50K spent. So how is that playing out for you? Why haven't you gone just like pure SaaS and decided to add a percentage eventually?
So we've moved to a fixed plan actually kind of recently. And then we just have, if you want to use the product more, then we kind of have that 1% in addition to what the fixed fee plan is. And I think that has generally worked out. My thought on pricing plans is merchants a lot of times like some predictability and kind of how much they're going to be charged for things. And so having kind of more fixed fee plans is going to be helpful for them. And so, for instance, the $100 a month versus $400 a month, those kind of like, it's a little bit of kind of a predictable charge for them.
Yeah, but you're taking 1% after 10K. So how many percentage of your client are actually going over that 10K per month build?
If they go over the 10K per month for the first plan, we recommend they just roll over to the next plan, $399.
Right. But my question is like, for example, if I run a business, right, that is fintech related, should I charge a percentage of what they get through my platform? I mean, Stripe, that's how they make their money. It's purely based on that. What are your thoughts on the pure SaaS monthly subscription model and billing a percentage? You seem to have gone hybrid. Are you still testing? Do you have a thesis on that?
I mean, we're always evaluating a pricing plan. And I think there are ways that we can definitely improve it. We recently moved more towards the kind of the tiered model that you see here, away from just a raw kind of 1% model here. And I think that, as I mentioned before, that's like because merchants appreciate some kind of predictability in their charges.
Right. But the percentage is pretty much unpredictable, right? Like, because if they make more money, they'll have to pay more. But my question is more, are you making more money with the subscription or the 1% or 0.8%?
Subscription, because the vast majority of merchants will buy the plan that they will fit under and is appropriate for their store.
Right. And I'm guessing you can justify that percentage by the fact that you almost immediately create an ROI. Like, what does it look if I use your platform? Let's say that I'm making 30K a month with my e-com store. To how much more can I scale using your solution in average? Obviously, depends on the niche, right? But do you have like some case studies for that?
Yeah, we do. So if you go to resources on our website, actually, there's a number of case studies. We've had really good success with the model to date. So a lot of these, it's kind of an average of over 20% lift in revenue, as well as over a 15% lift in profit from the merchants that we're working with. And you can see below, there are a lot of situations where it's actually way higher than that too, depending on how the model works on specific stores. And so
Right.
you would compare that to basically the $100 a month that we're taking from merchants. And a lot of times that can be, an order of magnitude. The ROI that they're getting is, 10x or higher with something like our solution.
So why isn't everyone using you? What concerns do they have, or potential challenge with using your technology?
I think everyone should. I think that there's going to be kind of a wave moving more towards personalization, and merchants today are using a lot more personalization on their site. I think pricing is one of those things where they just need to kind of find the time to help, like, we'll integrate with them and kind of educate them on how the system works. And I think that probably one of the biggest blockers that we have with more merchants not adopting this is they just don't really understand the AI right now. And so they're thinking, well, I don't know exactly how it works, like who specifically is it targeting and things like that. And we are really trying to kind of sit down with them and say, these are the types of people who will likely get a discount. You can run it. You can run an A/B test, have confidence in the results on your store. And I think it's just kind of like that education before we get kind of widespread adoption.
Right. And is it only relevant discounts when it comes to B2C? I'm in B2B, and I sell pretty high ticket. Sometimes I give discounts to my clients if they buy multiple months. It always comes at a cost for them. Like if they want discounted price, I'll just offer less, for example. So is it mostly valid in B2C, or should discounts also be part of the B2B conversation?
Discounts, I think, should be totally valid in B2B as well. What you think you see in B2B is typically you have kind of lower transaction volumes, but higher ticket prices, obviously. And one of the reasons our solution works really well for B2C is because we just need a lot of data. And so we need to see a lot more people kind of coming in, a lot more transactions, even if they're smaller transactions, to be able to kind of train that model and pick up the different tendencies on like who is more price sensitive. But on the B2B side, like, personalized pricing and discounts has been kind of a part of negotiations for, it's a tale as old as time, basically. You kind of always expect some ability to negotiate with other like B2B providers. It's just maybe a little bit more difficult to kind of stick into an AI model.
Right. So yeah, should I negotiate? Like if I deal with a new provider on my end, should I negotiate from the get-go? Is that a good practice, or is that somewhat rude to just randomly slash off price? Like for example, I bought this new bike 2 days ago, and the negotiation process, the discounts, it wasn't too much part of the convo. I think I slashed off like a couple of thousands out of it, right? But it seems, yeah, ideally it should be justified with something, right? It's like, hey, here are the market prices, or hey, this is not working on the bike. Like, do you negotiate personally when you're buying a new thing?
A lot of time, but it depends on kind of like where I'm buying it from. If I'm going to like I don't know, like a Best
A
Buy.
Louis Vuitton store.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I'm not going to negotiate on something with like just a price tag on it that I'm buying. But, secondhand things, a lot of times you can negotiate. People, and it like depends on kind of what position you're in. If it's a bike with that's been used before and you see something you don't like as much as what you saw kind of online, then I think that's like something to negotiate with.
I want your feedback on some of my pricing plans on my website as a pricing expert. What do you think about these three here? So the first thing I offer with my company is a one-time setup, right? It's 2.1K, it's low ticket. The mentality behind that was that my other plans were a bit too high ticket for some people. And if they buy that, they can step up to this one and this one, which are retainers. And you notice here I circled like the most popular because that one is. And if they buy for multiple months, they get a discount here rapidly like that. What are your thoughts on my own pricing here and my plans? And yeah, what should I improve there?
Well, I don't know too much about like the kind of comps in the industry, and I think that's going to be important for setting your own prices. But the structure that you've had here, I think, is very common as far as like an entry level that can be upgraded over time to kind of allow people to dip their toes in a bit more. So I think that totally makes sense. And the other thing to do is, what are other people charging for similar services? And are you offering more? Are you offering less? One of the easiest kind of pricing strategies people can take is like that just competitively set. Retailers do that too. They scrape prices for kind of similar goods online and decide if they want to like price more or price low. So
Yeah, because the human minds, I think they want simplicity, right? In pricing, I think this sort of makes logical sense. Like maybe some improvement on the UX if they check like the amounts of meetings they can get here. Plus, this one plan here's low ticket. I never thought I would actually offer that much low ticket. And the next step for me would be SaaSifying, right? So going from consultancy to SaaS. Yeah, what do you think is like the pricing model of the future? Is it like per API usage? What would buying stuff B2B and B2C wise be looking like in 10 to 20 years from now?
That's a great question. I don't know if there's one pricing package that's going to be right for kind of all businesses. I do think that it makes sense that we're drifting more towards a like data informed pricing policies. And so, I'm in Promi are a part of that kind of drift because we're able to use a lot of this data on customers coming to the site. To some extent, I imagine B2B is going to follow kind of the same suit. So you can have more understanding, maybe it's automated kind of systems of like benchmarking your pricing versus kind of similar services online. Even apart from discounts, like looking at pricing, I think there's a lot you can do on just like looking at kind of conversion rates on your different products. And if conversion rates are low, then a lot of times you can optimize a little bit more by lowering the price. If conversion rates are high, potentially you can kind of optimize by increasing the price. And so those are the things that I think like will kind of drift towards more data driven. I don't know if you'll see all kind of usage based pricing or all fixed fee pricing kind of going forward.
Or maybe I would have some kind of cookie following me around, some specific company that would potentially find out the budget that I have, right? My spending habits. If I'm an influencer or not, I should get a different price. If I can refer clients, like would that be like the super corporation of the future, like a corporation that would just map out your buyer profile and decide of pricing throughout the internet? Right now, it would be a Chrome extension, right? Like, what do you think about that?
Something along those lines, yeah. And honestly, like we're not too far away from something along those lines, like where we see, at least on the merchant side, how many times has this person kind of ordered from this shop before, but we're not following someone around to different sites. And I think that like you kind of get into an area that's maybe a little bit scary for people to know, like, oh, it sees that I bought this, so it's going to charge me more on that, and all this kind of like different, like people are more worried about getting charged more, I think, because of their past purchases and such. And that's kind of why we framed this as like discounts. It's like, okay, we just want to kind of give people deals on certain things that we think make sense for them.
Right. Another one of my thesis with AI nowadays is that it's going to slash a bunch of jobs, and I think a good part of the market is going to survive and is going to become freelancers. I don't believe like 9-to-5ers are going to be a thing in the future. And I do think there's going to be a massive corporation that's going to take all of these freelancers and be in charge of having them paid, whether it is for their time or their value. What do you think of that future fintech? First, do you agree with all my assumptions about AI? And second, what do you think about the corporation that would manage all these freelancers, their work, make sure that they get paid accordingly to what they did?
I do think there's probably a big shift towards leveraging AI more, and that having kind of pressure on potentially lower employment. I'm not an expert on kind of those things and like what I'd see forward. I do know, just like in my own anecdotal cases and like Promi, each employee can be a lot more productive. And I think that does kind of slow hiring for us in some situations, because we don't need an additional engineer because our engineers are that much more productive. And so I can see that totally rippling across the economy and having a big effect. I don't know where that's going to net out. A lot of people say, hey, AI is also going to create new types of jobs, and it's just going to shift the labor that we have. And maybe that's true, but I'm not exactly sure. And then on the kind of like, influencer side, I could see that totally happening. I think that would be kind of a cool solution for AI, honestly, if you could kind of, figure out the right, like a way to, I guess, employ all those people, or really just like give them work and such. And
right, because not all buyers are created equal, right? I can also think of just a bad buyer, right? Like someone that constantly buys stuff and return it, and just like is constantly spreading negative shit about brands online. There's these type of people, and I wouldn't allow these people to buy from me, because if I make $6 off them, but they cost me 600 in reputation and all of that, like, no, you're just not allowed to buy my shit, right? You've worked at Uber and Jet. Jet, I forgot the name of the founder, but he's pretty beastly. Uber, you probably studied Travis as well. What did you learn from these founders, and who do you map your own systems and models on nowadays?
Yeah, it's kind of a good question. I probably pulled a little bit more for Uber, just like a recency bias in kind of my own leadership style now, especially because I was focused specifically on discounts at Uber. Jet was interesting because it's a startup environment. And so you're able to kind of understand what it takes to be moving really quickly. You don't have the same timelines or the amount of manpower that you have at Uber. And so understanding kind of how to like de-scope things into a very quick MVP is helpful at a place like Jet versus like Uber, where it really kind of needs to be buttoned up well in order to launch the experiment and launch the new feature. So I think there's like a little bit of kind of both of those. I'll probably take more of the kind of domain expertise from Uber, but maybe a little bit more of the actual like getting stuff done from Jet, if that makes sense.
Right. And who are you learning from nowadays? What are you reading?
So there are some great books that like YC gave us actually. I honestly even forgot the name of it. It's something like Founder-Led Sales. What I found personally is that like the kind of skill gap for myself is probably biggest in sales versus everything else of the like things that you need to know to kind of run a company successfully. And so I've like really kind of tried to patch that gap as much as possible by reading those types of books.
Yeah, maybe Jeb Blount or whatever his name is, the founder-led ones. But yeah, there's a bunch of great books. I don't read much books nowadays. I mostly do like ChatGPT deep research. Do you also do that just to grow your brain faster on specific topics?
I have before, not like a ton, but I have heard good things also about it from other people too.
Right. Yes, your head's down nowadays, really like hustling and yeah, building Promi and yeah, like focusing on the products, but potentially raising a next round, I would guess. But till then, where can people find out more about you, Peter?
Yeah, Promi.ai is our website. Would highly recommend you go there and check it out and get in touch if you're interested in the tool, just knowing more, or if you want to use it. Happy to help and tell you more.
So I was Peter and Charles for another YC